Good afternoon. I'm XOXO, the chocolate lady dripping with thoughts. This is Quilts and Chocolates, your source for 108 by 108 quilt backing, as well as your happy place to come and enjoy chocolates, as I make 5 to 10 minute chocolate bars each time that I'm on, at least 4 times a week. Sundays, which I like to focus on the history of quilting, as well as memorial quilts and burial quilts. On Mondays is set aside for homeschoolers, and Wednesdays for women. You know, we have to be so careful to just say women because somebody might get bent out of shape. So also general quilting. And then on Fridays for men and also general quilting. Again, we're going to be politically correct. But today I do want to focus on I want to just remind you that on Sundays when you join me, that we will be talking about the history of quilts. Today I'm going to focus a little bit more on memorial quilts and how with memorial quilts we oftentimes think of people passing away, but that's not necessarily true. Sometimes a memorial quilt can just be a quilt that has a lot of significant meaning to you, and it's a memory, and it may even be somebody else's memory. And some time ago I was at the thrift store, and this quilt that's behind me, it belonged to somebody else. And it's a summer quilt. It's not terribly thick, but it's an old quilt, and that has been identified by the fabric that it is constructed of. It is the old polyester, and it's a crazy quilt, and at the backing is like a muslin, and I got it just to add to my collection, but for some reason it's on my bed. I absolutely love and adore this quilt. It's thin, and it's not put together with a lot of precision. It's more put together as I'm going to make this quilt to stay warm in the summertime or just at the beginning of winter. And so this quilt is a memorial quilt for me, even though I don't know who it belongs to, but I just know that there is something special about it. So when you are designing a memorial quilt for someone, you can use their old clothes, okay, and their old ties, or if they had popular t-shirts, or just many different things that you can add into a memorial quilt. And I heard someone say that they were commissioned to do a quilt for a family, for 2 siblings. So what they did was they made a large quilt, and on the top of the quilt had one design, and on the bottom of the quilt it had the same design. And then that entire, okay, I'm kind of stretching the truth a little bit, but it went something like this. They made a big quilt, and then it was divided, and the top half of the quilt was exactly like the bottom half of the quilt, and it was given to the family. I will research that story more carefully, and maybe next Sunday I will give you the correct, accurate information. But that's the gist of it, that a set of siblings ended up having similar quilts that came from their loved ones. Okay, so when I myself make a quilt, almost 100% of the time, I usually add a soft fabric like this to the back. See how soft that is? And if I was going to make a memorial quilt for someone that loved dogs, or if I was just going to make a quilt in general for a person that loved dogs, here is something I want to show you. And this is some more of that really soft fabric. So on the back, I'm trying to influence you. On the back of my quilts, I always add a large section of this cozy fabric because in this quilt behind me, I'm going to finish it because it doesn't have a back on it. It just has just, excuse me. Oh, wait. Oh, wow. I am having a difficult time here. Please see the back. It's not done. So bear with me and enjoy today's show. I'm going to add cozy on the back of that so that if I'm taking a nap and I only have that quilt on top of me, I will be able to feel something cozy over my legs or around my neck or my arms or on my hands. And so I always add a cozy fabric on the back of my quilts. So back to memorial quilts. And a lot of times it's about grieving and missing the person so much. But at some point, after you go through the 5 stages of grieving, you get to a point where you miss them so much, but a quilt can bring you great comfort as you're making, this is difficult, as you are letting the memories of the hurt settle down. And yes, you're letting the hurt settle down and you're accepting that they're gone, but you're embracing the good memories, and you're pulling goodness from the sadness of the sadness. Okay, so what I like about myself is that sometimes I'm a little bit all over the place, and besides loving quilts and making chocolates, I do occasionally watercolor. And I want to show you one of my paintings, and it has to do with memorial quilts and having a difficult time. So if you look here, if you notice that this flower is growing up from the ground. But did you notice how beautiful it is? It's growing up from the ground and it has those beautiful, hi, hello everyone that's making comments. I will address your comments shortly. I'm just at a very, I want to keep my train of thought, so forgive me. But if you notice that in my watercolor that I'm going to show you again, that the flowers are coming up from the ground where we place our loved ones, but the flowers are so beautiful as we're coming out of sadness and accepting that they're gone, then we can embrace the beauty of the memories that we have of them, and that's what making memorial quilts are all about. So I did want to share that with you, that it's a bittersweet time, and memorial quilts help an awful lot. Oops, something's going on here. Okay, so I would like to show you a couple of videos that talk about memorial quilts, and let's just enjoy that, please.
Memorial quilt I made was for a friend of mine. Her father had passed away. The only thing that she got from his house was a box of ties, and she said, "Lori, I know that you make quilts. What could you do with these ties? Could you make them into something?" And I said, "Yeah, I think I could do that." A few years after that, my grandmother died. I was very close to her, and I did one quilt that had her gardening shorts. I remember her wearing gardening shorts and her Oxford shirts and her jeans. It's like this immediate memory, this connection to her. Then I get to hang it on my wall and I get to look at it. I could think about her and think about what we did together. My name is Lori Mason. I'm a textile designer and quilt maker, and I specialize primarily in making
I hoped you enjoyed that short clip about this young lady, Lori, who makes memorial quilts, and I want you to just do the same. Just make some memorial quilts, and they don't necessarily have to be for your family. You can make memorial quilts and give them to your family, to friends, or even to a hospital, a nursing home, and even to the police departments. Now, keep in mind that when you're making the quilt itself, and you say, well, you mentioned a memorial quilt. Yes, but you can get fabric from your own personal memorial fabric that you have at home that is very meaningful to you. Or you can go to a thrift store. Oftentimes, clothing, linen is donated to thrift stores from someone that has passed away, that has great memory to it. And you can make a quilt from that. I went to the thrift store last year, and I'm going to show you something, and it's really big, but it has to do with the memorial. So bear with me. You see this big, gigantic piece of fabric? It's a beautiful color, isn't it? Okay, that large piece of cozy fabric came from the thrift store. And I know that that fabric there probably belonged to someone who, maybe it came from a company, I don't know. But I got a funny feeling it came out of someone's sewing room. And so I can make a quilt that I'm going to donate by using a large piece of that on the back or on the front. I could crazy quilt, you know. The bottom line is that it becomes a memorial quilt. So to wrap things up on burial and memorial quilts, just realize that we have to make more quilts that we designate as memorial quilts and share them with friends and families and strangers. And I just thought about something off the top of my head. I think this is an excellent idea. I think all the quilters out there should start also sending quilts to funeral homes so that occasionally, if a child is going to be laid to rest, the funeral home can give the family a twin-size loving quilt that they can take home in memory of their child that is being laid to rest. Bear with me today. I just thought about that off the top of my head, and it's just sad. But this is not about sad. One thing about the chocolate lady, XOXO, I do like to find happiness in all things. So I did make some chocolate today. It took me about 10 minutes, and I would like to share that with you, because oftentimes when our hearts are broken and we're reaching back into memories, a little bit of chocolate, it really helps quite a bit. Okay, so I'm going to grab the chocolate. Yes, I am. Yes, right now. So what is beautiful about going live is that sometimes when you are a big talker like I am, we have a tendency to forget that people are trying to communicate with us in the comments section. And I just want to tell everyone, XOXO, I love you, but I was really reaching deep down in my soul talking about memorial quilts and burial quilts, and I'm sorry that I did not acknowledge you. Okay, so I am the chocolate lady, and today I did make some chocolates, and I purposely chose raspberries. Let me share them with you. Okay, so most people are always dipping strawberries in chocolate. And one thing about me, I rarely do anything that is customary or regular or ordinary. I am slightly unique in everything that I do. So these raspberries, I want you to look very carefully. Well, these raspberries, at the top of them, this is the top, okay? And when you buy them at the market, they have a little hole in them. So what I did was I drizzled the white chocolate in the hole of the raspberry, yes. And I'm just gonna take a little nibble. No, I'm not, a small bite. See? In the center of the raspberry is white chocolate. And The point I would like to make today is that when we're crying over our loved ones and we're holding on to the memories, you can always find something good and something sweet. As your salty tears are flowing, you can embrace the goodness. And that's why I purposely chose these. Oops, that's funny. These raspberries are actually kind of pretty, but I'm getting it together on how to present all this stuff to you. But the bottom line is that I think what you should do is consider keeping some fresh raspberries in your refrigerator, melting some white chocolate, milk chocolate, dark chocolate, and drizzling the chocolate in the center of the raspberries and allowing them to sit for about ever how long you could possibly wait. And then you should eat them either while you're sewing, or if it's on a Sunday, while you're thinking about your family and your friends, and you're kind of like having a little private time and a little memorial time. You can nibble on those, because something like this will make you happy. Well, I hope you enjoyed our short show today. I didn't really touch on very much about the history of, it looks delicious. Thank you so much. XOXO, I'm XOXO, and I'm getting all these beautiful comments, and I really appreciate that you are giving me such encouragement to continue on. And I love quilting. I love making chocolates, but especially I love sharing my heart and soul and my authentic self with you. I don't want to pretend. I want to be messy as I am. Like when I was showing you the chocolate covered raspberries, and one fell. Oh well. God made dirt. Dirt don't hurt. So I'm not going to eat that, okay? I'm going to put it in the trash can because I have carpet on the floor, and it's going the candy's going to have carpet hair on it, but I have extra. Okay, so again, as I'm starting to close up the show, I wanted to touch on the history of quilting, which I did not, and I'll do that next Sunday. But I did touch on memorial quilts and burial quilts, and I hope that you join me next Sunday. And maybe you can send me a photograph of your memorial quilt, or one that you would say that, you know what, I think this is a quilt I might want to share with someone who's going to lose someone, or someone who has a broken heart. And also, I do want to tell you that I love you. I love you so much. And I'm XOXO, the chocolate lady, dripping with thoughts. I am your source for 108 by 108 quilt backing, as well as the 5 to 10 minute chocolate bar. And I usually kind of forget that I'm supposed to make a chocolate bar, and I end up making chocolate treats, but it's all the same. And see you tomorrow, homeschoolers. Hey, if you know homeschoolers, tell them to check with me Mondays at 1:08 in the afternoon. And other quilters, tell them Wednesdays 1:08 in the afternoon, and men quilting Fridays 1:08 in the afternoon, and Sundays is probably the day that I enjoy the most, or memorial quilts and history of quilts. And yeah. Hey, do you think that Hershey's is going to be bent out of shape with me if I say Hershey's? Because sometimes I use Hershey's, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I use Ghirardelli's, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I use any kind of chocolate I want to use. Bye! XOXO. I love you.